very first drive home reviews of 2021. This year is only 10 days old, I think, and already we are discovering why people tend to dislike sequels so much. So yeah, I put a lot of thought into what was going to be the first review of 2020, and of course the options are limited at the moment, depending, most theaters have reclosed, and the only option around here is a drive-in, which I love the drive-in, but the weather's dropped down, so, as much as I want to see some of these movies to review them, I don't really feel like catching hypothermia. I've worked very hard not to get sick this year for a variety of reasons, and I really don't feel like, a Tom Hanks Western or the Wonder Woman sequel is the hill I want to catch a cold on, So I had to do some scanning to try to find something, because, I wanted to get back into the reviewing game, and trying to find a subject was rather difficult. And then, heaven kind of opened up, and I found this movie. This wonderful little gem, this quiet little bizarre, batshit insane little picture, and went, that's the one, because what we need right now is it's not so bad to say this, after what has transpired over the past couple days. I think we need an escape. We really do. We need a feel-good picture. We need something off-the-wall crazy, something original, something to take our minds off the fact that while the calendar may have rolled over, the fucked up world that we have created still is going strong. Now, hopefully, the insanity of the last couple days is just the last dying breaths of the year that has been, and we're about to enter a phoenix cycle where we will be reborn, and by the end of this year, we'll all go, oh my God, that was so great. But even so, let's try to enter this film and this year, with smiles. I'm sure there'll be plenty of time to cry. I'm almost positive. So anyway, let's talk about this little film that nobody probably heard of. I found this one. This is one of the ones that it's one of the few times I thank heaven for social media ads, because this one just kind of popped up on my news feed, and I was like, what the hell is this? And I was like, what the hell is this? All right, so let's talk about this. So, no doubt you probably haven't heard of this film. I had to find it on In Demand. I don't think it's available streaming yet, at least not the streaming services I was able to browse through. So this film stars former hit girl Chloe Grace Moretz, I hope I got her name right, who again played hit girl in the two Kick-Ass movies, and she was kind of like the scene stealer of that film. Everybody loved Hit Girl in those movies, and I actually I didn't really care for those movies all that much. I thought they were okay, but yeah, Hit Girl was badass, and I remember watching it going, oh man, this kid's she's gonna be something. And I was thinking the Marvel people were gonna snatch her up for something, and they may still. I don't think they have yet. And I went back and looked at her IMDb page, and she hasn't done a whole lot, a lot of small pictures, which, is a good way to kind of hone your craft, I think. And anyway, I'm off topic. You can tell it's been a little while since I've done this. So anyway, Chloe Grace Moretz plays this. I'm just going to say a woman, because it's one of those instances where she's not who and what she appears to be, kind of thing. It's during World War II, and she's in New Zealand, and she's hitching a ride on one of those Memphis Belle-style bombers. And she's carrying a satchel which contains something very secretive and something very, very important. So she gets on the plane with the crew. The crew, of course, don't want her there. They're all a bunch of men. They hate her. They don't like their manly man clubhouse being invaded with girl cooties. So they kind of force her to sit in the ball turret, the thing, the balls of the plane, literally, that sit under it and would swivel around and shoot and whatnot. The thing that Sean Astin had to sit in Memphis Belle. So they force her into the ball turret. And that's where she stays for better than half the film. Most of this movie takes place in the ball turret with her, as she communicates with the crew kind of over the communication system. And as she's down there, the film kind of becomes a mix of an Alfred Hitchcock film along with classic Rod Serling era Twilight Zone. I mean, this film basically is Nightmare at 25,000 Feet, the movie. So she's down in the ball turret and she starts seeing things. First, she starts seeing a Japanese plane and she's trying to tell them, you know, hey, there's a Japanese plane out there. And they're like, oh, shut up, woman. You're a woman. Your woman eyes can't see things, you know. And then she starts seeing something crawling on the plane and she becomes William Shatner. There's something on the wing of the plane. And they're like, no, there's not. Shut up. You know, she becomes Donald Pleasance in the Halloween movies, essentially, you know. And she's being attacked by this gremlin thing that's attacking the plane, and she's trying to tell them about the Japanese bomber and the gremlin. They're all, and then literally about the halfway point, the film just takes a sharp right turn into Crazyville when the action scene starts, and from like that point all the way through the climax of the film, this becomes like a Hobbs and Shaw level, balls to the wall, totally fucked up, unbelievable action piece finale. And it's like, it's like, holy shit. Like, this just goes everywhere. So I actually really enjoyed this picture. I really had a good time with it. And there were just a lot of really smart things that were done in this film to kind of take expectations and tweak them just a little bit. First of all, I gotta give big ups to Chloe Grace Moretz. I'm just gonna call her Hit Girl because it's easier. I'm gonna give a big props to Hit Girl in this, because man, she literally has to carry this movie. It is her movie. It is basically a one-person show, in that she's the person on screen 90% of the time. I don't think there's a scene in this, except maybe some exterior shots, that she is not on camera. So she is on camera almost the entire film, and for the first half of it, she's the only actor that we're seeing. She's in the ball turret, and it's her reactions, it's her story, it's her, just everything, and she does a really great job here. I don't think she's at the level of really great actor yet, but I think she's on her way. I think this was a really good, really strong performance, because there's a lot she has to play. The character starts out as kind of this very, kind of Peggy Hill, Captain America kind of, but not very, very quiet. I'm here with papers, and I am going to do my duty, and I hope the big, strong men don't treat me too badly. Oh, they're saying such cross things. And then we find out that's a front. That's not who she really is. She's actually this other person. And then she basically switches characters, and then that character goes through a character arc. I'm being very vague here, because even though what's in the satchel and all that isn't like the biggest shock in the world, it's not like whatever's in the briefcase in Pulp Fiction kind of levels, what's in there really changes the complexion of the character, and I don't necessarily want to spoil it, so I'm going to try to talk around it. So if be aware there might be spoilers as I go through, just so we're clear. So then that character goes through a character arc once we find out what's in the satchel and what it is she's transporting, and the lengths that she will go to in order to protect that package. So yeah, she's basically playing 3, maybe 4 different characters throughout the film. The same character, but 4 different incarnations and personas. And it's really well done. And again, a lot of this is done without other actors to really work off of. She has their voices. Most of the other characters come to her through the comm, so we hear their voices. But she doesn't have them to act directly off of, unless they're kind of off camera while she's filming. So it's a hard job to do, and you're trying to carry several different genres of film along with several different performances and be that main character, and I think she does a really, really good job. I think in a few years, this young lady may become a real powerhouse in movies. I really believe that. And if not, if all she wants to do and all she can do is kind of stick to these smaller films, I think she's going to have a nice career. I think she's going to have a nice group of performances to hang her hat on. The other thing that I really like about this movie is kind of the supporting characters, and not like any of them individually. It's kind of what they decided to do with these supporting characters. Now, one of the things that we find is a problem with a lot of horror movies, I think I mentioned this with Underwater, and I mentioned it, I think, in the Predator review a couple years back. One of the problems when you have kind of a monster movie kind of thing where you know a bunch of the characters are just cannon fodder is how to approach those other characters. You know, one of the things I mentioned in Underwater, if you can remember way back at the beginning of 2020, was that the other characters are just so bland and so dull and so, you know, just non-entities that when they get bumped off, you don't care. There are no stakes because you're like, well, I don't give a shit that person, you know. It's very difficult to kind of create likable characters, especially since the audience is very much aware of what their purpose in the script is. So trying to create lovable characters, you know, doing the Game of Thrones thing where you create characters that the audience really likes so that when they die, you know, they're really upset about it, especially when you're given such little screen time. That's hard to do. And this movie doesn't even fucking try. This movie goes the complete opposite way, and not in the self-aware kind of way that a lot of modern horror movies do ever since Scream came out. But this movie basically populates this plane with the douchiest bunch of dude bros that you could ever come across. These guys, with maybe one or two exceptions, are such cock monkeys. They are such motherfuckers, and you just hate them so much. And I think that was actually kind of a brilliant stroke, because when they start getting bumped off, you're actually really excited. You're not being taken out of the action. You're like, yeah, fuck that guy. You know? So I think that was a really, really good idea. I think that was a smart way to go with those characters. There are a couple of them that are nice characters and a couple of them that are, you know, okay. But for the most part, they're just a bunch of fuckers. So now we got to talk about this. I got to talk about the thing about this movie is that it's almost two movies in one. As I mentioned, at that midpoint, and you can see right when it happens. It's not a subtle transition. Everything about this movie changes. And you're basically getting two movies in one. So the first part of this movie is, again, very Hitchcockian and very classic Twilight Zone. It is one person in one location dealing with stress, dealing with crisis, I don't know. Dealing with what she is seeing that no one else can see. And I think that's one of the wise things about kind of setting this when they did is, you know, with those bombers, that's why they had so many people, because one person couldn't see all these different areas. So that's why they had to call out, you know, where they were and what they were seeing. So I think it's a really smart thing. And it is directed beautifully. You know, everything from her trying to warn them about the Japanese fighter she's seeing, to the first gremlin attack, to her actually seeing the gremlin and trying to get them to believe it. The tension really builds, and then of course you have the added drama of who she really is, what's in that satchel she's carrying, you know. And it's all just building so much, so you understand why they don't trust her, because they find out she's lying to them, and so then why would she be lying? Why would she be telling the truth about anything else? And it is just masterfully done. It is so good. And then, like I said, directly in the fucking middle of this picture, everything changes. It goes from this subtle, almost psychological horror film to this Hobbs and Shaw level of bullshit action. When I say bullshit, I don't mean bad. I just mean shit that is in no way physically possible. One of the hallmarks of this movie, and I remember sitting there watching it going, what the fuck, is the satchel is stolen by the gremlin, and it's like hanging off the wing of the plane, you know, off. And so to get this satchel, Hit Girl undoes the ball torn, climbs out onto the wing of the plane while it's in flight and while the dogfight is going on. So she's hanging on to the little hand and footholds up there upside down, crawling along the wing to get to this satchel. I'm watching it going, this is both the stupidest and the most awesome thing I have ever seen. So it's just such a huge tonal shift from this very, again, reality-driven and psychology-driven piece to this, fuck it, I'll climb upside down on the wing of a plane while it's in flight. There's a scene where after she gets the satchel up, she falls out of the plane. She's falling down. One of the Japanese planes flies under her, explodes, and the force of the explosion pushes her back up into the plane. It's like the Hurricane Heist. And I mean that as a compliment, because I love the Hurricane Heist. Because it is so fucking stupid, but it's like fun stupid. This movie's climax is Hit Girl having a hand-to-hand fist fight with the fucking monster. Like, seriously, she's like doing karate on the thing. It's fucking amazing. So I love that, but now here's the problem. Here's where this is the thing that's both a plus for this movie and a negative. The negative of this is that you had two movies that are so diametrically opposed to each other in terms of tone, in terms of audience acceptance, especially, again, when you set us up in this almost very realistic, I'm going to say very realistic, but more realistic opening, and then suddenly you go Fast and Furious with it. It's a huge tonal shift. Even with the presence of things like the monster and, you know, the gremlin crawling on the plane and all that, it's still a huge fucking leap. And I almost, again, it's two movies, and I almost want a full movie of both. I want a full movie that is all in the more Hitchcockian, Twilight Zone-y feel. I wanted this to kind of climax that way and see how this built up, because I was really getting into it. And then after watching the second part, it's like, I want a whole movie like that. I want a whole fucking movie that balls to the wall and nuts. So, it works, but it doesn't work. It's a very weird little picture and a very weird situation where, again, something works but doesn't. And that's the main thing to talk about in terms of the negative of this movie. Other than that, this movie's really great, except for the music. Oh, I hate the music in this. The music is terrible. It's just it's like techno shit. It sounds like the music from Thor Ragnarok, which worked in Thor Ragnarok but doesn't work here. It's this weird 80s synth music which doesn't make any fucking sense. It's so tonally out of place with everything else that goes on in this movie, especially since the movie ends as the opening credits, as the first part of the closing credits. It's weird that we can divide credits into two parts now. It's showing like archival footage of women in World War II and women going through training. So this movie's overarching themes of female empowerment and whatnot are very in keeping with the time period that it's placed in, but the music is so ugly and out of step with all of that that it really pulls me out. And I think one more thing about the themes in terms of how the themes of female empowerment and whatnot as it relates to our main characters played by Hit Girl. I really liked how the themes are portrayed with her, because this is something I might get in trouble for saying, and I don't mean disrespect, but I'm gonna walk on eggshells here. I think sometimes it's very hard to do a good female action hero because they are usually written by men. And because of that, it's hard to come up with a really good female action hero who isn't spending the entire movie going, I'm a strong female action hero. You know what I mean? Where it's not like making that all it's about. Instead of making a good character, we're too busy, propping up the femaleness. Does that make sense? It works in all things. Take Captain Marvel, for example. I know some people will disagree with me, and even the recent Wonder Woman films, even though I wasn't a fan of the first one. What I liked about both those movies is here is a character. Carol Danvers is a character. Diana is a character. The fact that they are a woman is a secondary thing, and we're going to make them a strong character, and then you can put the female empowerment thing, over top of that, or put it in the subtext. And I think what I really liked about this character is that she was not someone, out to show show the men folk how it's done. And that's very hard because she's in there with a bunch of douchebags, the worst examples of masculinity. We should have named the plane Toxic Masculinity. But she is someone driven by the thing that she has to do. She's driven by the job that she has, and she is the heroism, the things that she does, and the lengths that she will go to are not driven by her. I must show them that a woman can be strong. It's driven by I have a job to do, and I've got to do it, and I have to do it right. She takes the chances she takes because she has to, because that's the job that she needs to do. If that makes any sense. And I feel like it makes a great character. A little cliche when we find out what's in the satchel. I think I may have given it away there. That she go that lioness kind of mad, when we find out what's in there. That's a little cliche. But I still think the character and her motivations and everything are still very grounded. Which is good because I've seen comic book movies that had action scenes that were more upheld logic than this movie. But all in all, I really enjoyed this picture. I really, really did. And I'm glad that this was kind of the first one out the gate for 2021. So, final grade for Shadow in the Cloud. I'm going a B+. I'm going to go a B+ on this one. This is a good movie. It's a fun movie. But I do think the shift, while both films are good, I would have liked to have seen one complete movie. So, but still, I think well worth the time. Okay, so here we are. We are back. It feels good to be back in the old driver's seat again, back with the film crew, back with all of you. I don't think anyone needs me to recite the now cliche line, 2020 was a weird year. I remember watching the New Year's celebrations, and they said that like every 5 minutes, like we didn't fucking know that because we weren't there. But it was, and we're still feeling the effects. And how we're going to work going forward is still something that in all walks of life we're trying to figure out. I can only say for my part, things are going to be a little bit hodgepodgey. We're going to be watching movies from 2020 we didn't get to. Going to be watching some of the new stuff that comes out as it's available. We're going to be all over the place. I think it's going to take us a little while to kind of get things back on a even keel. Of course, Forgotten Gems is still going to be around. I've still got the series that I want to look at. We're also, my girlfriend Rebecca and I are working on a new video/podcast project that we're excited about. So hopefully that'll be coming out here relatively soon. So, the first 10 days have been rough, but there are good signs, and we got to try to hold on to those and not dwell too much on the insanity, even though the insanity is really hard to ignore. And you shouldn't ignore it because then it's not going to go away. You have to deal with it, but I think it helps to take a step back, take a breath, and go, okay, let's watch some movies and listen to some idiot talk about it. So, thank you for joining me. It's good to be back. It's good to be back in the seat. And here's hoping that this year at the movies and this year in general gives us a lot to smile about. So until next time, drive safe, and I will see you at the movies.